In this week's In-Ear Insights, let's talk about events, conferences, trade shows, workshops, the gamut of things that you could get up from your desk, maybe, and go somewhere else and eat hotel chicken and enjoy speaking in events and all the one of those things. The big question is this, Katie. In today's absolutely loony environment and the economic uncertainty and the budgets and all this and that, are events still worth it? And this is a two-part question. Are events still worth it for the attendees? And are events still worth it for companies that want to generate business from events?
It's a big question. And if our listeners are anything like me, it takes a lot to get them to put on real pants and actually leave the house. You know, something that isn't sweatpants or leggings or something like that, because you're spending the time, the resources, the money to go out and actually interact with other people. So in terms of an attendee, I think there can be a lot of value provided you do your homework on who the speakers are, what their expertise is, what they're promising to teach you in the workshop or the session or, you know, whatever the thing is. The flip side of that is it can be worth it for a speaker, provided you know who your audience is. You know, you can create an ICP, and provided you are giving value to the audience. So if you're a speaker who is made their whole career on big ideas and thought leadership and all that, that's fine. But people have a hard time buying something from that and saying, I know exactly what it is I need to do next. So there's a time and place for those speakers. But for an attendee to really get value, you need to teach them something. You need to show them how to be very tactical, be very hands-on. That's where an attendee is going to get more value. So I would say overall, I think events are worth it, provided both the attendee and the speaker are doing their homework to make sure they are getting and providing value.
Yep. The trifecta has always been speaker, sponsor, attendee, right? So each entity has their own motivations. And one of the best things that you can do, even before signing up for an event, or while you're considering them, is to actually make a user story, right? So for me, Christopher Penn, as a keynote speaker, I want to speak at, Davos, right? So that I can raise my stature among professional speakers by speaking at the World Economic Forum, right? That's just a simple example. It becomes pretty clear then that event fits my which maps to the 5P framework, right? So I have a purpose as a speaker. I have a performance. I have a known outcome that I want. And then I have to figure out, does the event provide the people, process, and platform to get me to my purpose and achieve the performance that I want? As an attendee, you would do the same thing. One of the reasons why I pretty much never go to events unless I'm speaking at them is because when I do this user story for myself as a AI data scientist, I want to learn the latest and greatest techniques and methodologies for using generative AI models so that I can improve the productivity of my work and scale AI faster. When I use that user story, there isn't a single event that matches that user story. None. Zero. Why? Because all of the stuff that fulfills that is not at events. It is in the steady stream of academic papers being published every day. It is in the research that's being done. It's in the code repositories that are being published on places like GitHub. And I know myself and how I work, and I will get immediate benefit by going to someone's GitHub repo, checking out the code, and saying, okay, well, how do I make this work for Trust Insights or this client or that client? An event doesn't do that for me. Now, if my story was, as a speaker, I want to go to this event so that I can network with this group of companies, that does make sense. But as an attendee, for me, my user story is so specific that events don't line up for me.
And I think that that's something that, so every year during event season, companies are sending, they're like, oh, we got 3 tickets, let's send 3 people. The thing that always bugged me about that wasn't that they were spending the time to send people, it's that there was no real action plan. Like, what are they supposed to get out of it? What are they supposed to bring back to the company to help other people learn? Because they're not inexpensive, because you have to get the ticket to the event, then you have to get travel to the event and lodging to the event, and then you have to eat at the event, and some events are better than others about actually feeding people, and so those are just expenses that you have to expect. And then there's also the lost time away from client work, away from the day to day. And so that's a sunk cost as well. So all of that adds up to, okay, did you just send your employees on a vacation? Or are they actually getting something out of it that they can bring back um, to their organization, to their team, to say, this is the latest and greatest. And that is a big part of how attendees would get value, is what is my KPI? What am I supposed to get out of this? Maybe it's literally, my goal is to meet 3 new people. That's an acceptable goal, as long as that's your goal, and then you do that. Or my goal is to understand what's going on with agentic AI as it applies to social media. Okay, well, those sessions exist, and if you're not attending those sessions, then you're probably just standing over at the coffee cart, gossiping with your friends, missing out on the thing that you actually went there to learn. But you need to know what it is that you're doing in the first place. Why are you there? And then figure out what sessions match up with the goals that you have. It sounds like a lot of work. It is, but I mean, it's worth it to do that homework up front. It's like anything else. Doing your requirements gathering is going to get you better results when you actually start to execute. So if you go into an event, events can be really overwhelming because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of concurrent sessions. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of vendors. There's a lot of booths, whatever. It can be really overwhelming. But if you do your requirements gathering up front to say, as a persona, I want to so that, and you look at the agenda and you say, these are the sessions that are going to help me meet my performance, help me understand my purpose and get to that goal faster, then you have a plan. You can at least sort of stay on track. And then everything else is just kind of, extra and auxiliary. As a speaker, again, you have to be thinking about it in those terms of maybe you create some user stories for attendees from your ICP. And you say, if my ICP is a B2B marketer who's about a 101, 102 with agentic AI, then what can I teach them that's going to bring them into my session and give them an immediate takeaway and immediate value?
Yep. For those who don't know, we're hosting our first event as a company in London on October 31st, 2025. So if you're listening to this after that date, pop by the Trust Insights website, because we are planning potentially some more events like this. It's a full day workshop. And one of the things that is nice about running your own event is you can ask attendees in advance, what do you want to learn from this? And I was looking at the responses this morning going, wow, there's a wide range, but one of the ones that stuck out is exactly what you said, Katie, which is, for this event to be, because we asked the question, for this event to be a success, what is the one thing that that you need to come home with? That's it. This person said, I need 5 use cases for generative AI that I can explain to my team for this event to be a success. One other person said, I need 1 prototype. Maybe it's just a prompt, maybe it's a GPT. I need 1 prototype that I can take back to work and use immediately for this event to be a success. And that tells me a lot as both an event organizer and as a speaker. That's what's expected. That is what is expected now
Mm-hmm.
for this kind of thing. Which, if you would just go to an event kind of randomly, like, okay, you don't know why you're there, but if you say, this is my burning question, will this event fulfill this? It's a lot more clear. And one of the things I think is so useful to do as an attendee is sit down with the beverage of your choice, a sparkling water, whatever, and say, what do I want to get out of it? What are my goals? Right? What is the thing, regardless of what are my goals for professional development? If you do that, and then you go to the event webpage and you copy paste the agenda, you put it into Chat GPT, and you can say, score the sessions at this event 1 to 10 on their relevance to my professional goals, and show me the session title and the score. It will spit that out. And what you will see is, yeah, this is an event I should go to. There's a lot of sessions that align with my goals. Or no, there's everything on here is scoring a 2 or a 3. This is not the event for me. Conference organizers, if you cannot share the agenda to people for generative AI, guess what? You are not going to make the cut very shortly for whether or not people even show up at your event.
Well, and here's the thing. Conferences in general spend a lot of time marketing and massaging the language. And there's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of, oh, that could be interesting. Or, we spent a lot of money making sure people are aware that we have an event at all. So it's the must, it's the must attend. It's the, we got the big name. I'm going to pick on Inbound for a minute. Because Inbound is one of those conferences that has gotten so big that from my perspective, I struggle to see the value as an attendee because it's so overwhelming. To HubSpot's credit, HubSpot has the Inbound conference. To HubSpot's credit, they get big A-list celebrities to do the big stages, which is what draws people in. As someone, me, who is very skeptical in general and questions everything, I look at that and I say, well, what value am I going to get from Gillian Anderson telling me about what I need to know as a B2B marketer? Probably not a lot, other than it would be cool to see someone like Gillian Anderson or Reese Witherspoon or John Krasinski or whoever they have on stage. But they're not talking to me specifically. So am I really going to get value out of that? But what HubSpot is doing is they're like, hey, we got this big name. Come see them speak and also attend our conference. There's nothing wrong with that. They can absolutely do that. And they get a lot of people because they get those big name celebrities. But when you really break it down to an individual attendee, I really would challenge you to question, what value am I getting out of that? Because it is such a big zoo-like experience. It's gotten really big. And how am I getting the most out of it? If you just really want to see a celebrity on stage, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That can absolutely be your goal. But if you're being held to specific KPIs by your manager, by your executives, maybe that's not the best use of your time. There are so many events out there now, both virtual and in person, what you're saying is, figure out first what it is that you need to be doing. What is your professional development roadmap? Then put the agendas and score them of all of the different events. That's how people are going to be choosing where they go. It's not going to be enough to have a big name celebrity on stage if they're not adding any value.
Mm-hmm. And remember, there's also different classes and kinds of events. So there are trade show events. These are events which are specifically vendor-focused shows, where there's a trade show floor, a big one, and you just go from vendor to vendor, essentially going shopping. I've spoken at several of these events, and they can be a lot of fun because you get to see the landscape of all the different options in your space. There are conferences which are sort of, high level, quick takes on the industry overall and individual topics. And one of our favorites is Marketing Profits B2B Forum. Right? You can see what the state of B2B marketing is by going to all these 45 to 60-minute sessions. And then there are workshops, which are a deeper dive, half day, full day workshops, which is a deeper dive into a particular topic, usually taught by one instructor, and you choose that workshop. That's sort of the event space. If your goal is deep professional development on a topic, an event might not be the choice at all. Like you might be better off with a course, because a course will teach you at a self-paced or instructor-led super deep dive into a topic that even in a full day workshop, you may not have enough time to get to, or depending on your learning style, you might find even a full day workshop just overload. Like I have taught workshops where 60% of the people were fine and 40% of people were like, I checked out at lunch because my brain is full and I can't put any more in it and stuff. And so, you know, that's a whole instructional design is a whole different podcast episode. But you have to decide, based on my goals, is an event even the right venue? Like, so if your goal, say like our partner John Wall, if your goal is I want to be there to network with people, a workshop ain't going to do that, right? A course ain't going to do that. Yeah, a conference absolutely going to do that. Trade show absolutely is going to do that. So going back to where we started, you've got to be clear on your purpose and then say, is this event the right one for me?
So let's talk a little bit about how attendees can really start to examine. So, you know, obviously, you know, I'm kind of putting you on the spot, Chris, but let's say I'm an attendee and I have two different, you know, events that I have to pick from. You're recommending that first I would probably do a user story to say, this is what I want to get out of it. So, you know, as a marketing analyst, I want to learn how AI can help me do measurement so that I can apply that and find efficiencies in my own work. So if that's my user story, then the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take that user story as maybe the foundation of the prompt that I'll build inside of generative AI, whether it be ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever. And what I'm going to do is say, this is my user story. These are my goals. Here are the agendas of two different events. Help me figure out which event is more aligned with my goal. And then which sessions or workshops specifically are going to teach me what I want to know. That's the way that it sounds like you're suggesting attendees approach choosing events, which then, you know, filters into that larger conversation that you were saying of event organizers. They need to be thinking about that's how attendees are going to be making those choices.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And if you're an attendee and maybe you've got limited budget, right? Maybe you can't afford the big show, right? So Katie, you were mentioning inbound. The reality is people who are professional speakers speak at more than one event a year. So you could also commission a deep research project on that speaker and say, gosh, Katie Robert is speaking at this event, but I can't afford that. Their ticket price is $2,700. What other events does Katie Robert speak at? Or how do I get in contact with Katie Robert to see, you know, what to ask her straight up, like, hey, what other events you speak at? Because I can't afford the big show, but I would still like to hear what you have to say. You might be surprised. You might even be surprised by the person says, well, you know, okay, you can't afford the super big show at $2,700, but you could take my course for $1,500 that will give you, frankly, more information than the event, because the event only gave me 45 minutes on stage, whereas I'm going to give you the full 8 hours at your own pace in my course. And so, and, you know, other than people who are just starting out, pretty much everybody who is a professional speaker has some other option for you to take advantage of their content. They probably have a course. They probably have a book. They probably have something that will get you access to that knowledge. So absolutely follow that process, Katie, but also be, if you know, like, this person is someone that I can learn from, but this event overall might not be the best fit, or I don't see the ROI for $2,700 for a ticket just to see that one person. Maybe there's an alternative.
And that goes to your second question that you asked me, is how do speakers get the most value out of events? Well, number one, you know, speaking is at as many events as you can is always a good place to start, but it's not the only thing that you should be doing. So, I'm gonna pick on you for a hot second, Chris. Uh, every event that we speak at always sends the speaker packet, and within that speaker packet, these events do a really great job of pre-writing social posts saying, "Hey, I'm Chris Penn and I'm speaking at, insert thing here, and I'll be teaching this. Come see me. Here's a link." If you're a speaker and you're not taking advantage of those things and telling people where you're going to be, as attendees get smarter about doing their research, you're not going to show up in that research. So you as a speaker need to be telling people what you're doing, where you're going to be, and then also diversify your content. So make sure you're not just speaking at events, but also, Chris, to your point, you're posting more on LinkedIn. Maybe you have a LinkedIn newsletter. Maybe you have an email newsletter. Maybe you have, a YouTube channel. Maybe you have a website. Maybe you have a book, whatever the thing is, make sure that whatever session you're doing at an event also has auxiliary content about it. So think about it the old way we used to think about content on our website. What was it? Like the cornerstone content. Um, I don't know. I don't remember if that was the term or not, but basically that was like here's my main point. Here's the thing. And then you create a lot of auxiliary pieces around that content that help support, and you explore it from a bunch of different angles. So if my point is the 5 Ps, great. That's my cornerstone content. Let me tell you what it is. But every other piece of content should give you use cases, give you ways to expand it, really dig into how it came about, how people can use it. And all of those should link back to the cornerstone content. The same is true for speakers who have here's my polished keynote speech, here's my theme, here's my topic, here's my thought leadership piece. You need to have that auxiliary content, and that's how you get the most value out of speaking at events, because people then know who you are. They know what you're going to teach.
Mm-hmm. And as a speaker, one of the most important things you can do is retain your audience from an event. So you as a speaker have to figure out, how do I get people to remember me come Monday morning when they've flown back home? And that kind of goes back to where we started this episode, in the sense of, what stuff are you going to give people? Are you going to give people a workbook or a worksheet or something other than just the slides? Are you going to give them a GPT? Are you going to give them a notebook LM? What is the thing? So, for example, in our recent, in the brand new Trust Insights unofficial LinkedIn algorithm guide, which you can get at trustinsights.ai/LinkedIn guide, we have a notebook LM with the guide in it, because the guide's like 80 pages long. And so people can just go right into that notebook LM and ask it questions and say, here's this thing. As a speaker, for example, I'm doing a workshop next week by the time you hear this workshop will be over. I'm doing a workshop for an organization. I'm recording myself. I'm going to record the entire thing, which I always do. And in the past, I provided a transcript. Well, guess what's going to happen this time? I'm still going to provide the transcript, but the transcript's going to go in a notebook LM along with all the prompts and stuff for the workshop, so that the attendees can go to the notebook LM and say, Chris discussed this one thing, but I don't remember what it was, and I don't want to read the 82 pages of text from the transcript from 6 hours of constant instruction. They can go right to the notebook LM and say, Chris talked about this thing. What was it? And they can get the answer as though Q&A was available in perpetuity from this workshop. Right? That's a value add. And of course, in the notebook, what do? You put in reminders. Hey, if you would like to engage Trust Insights, just pop on my Trust Insights. Hey, when you pre-build the audio overview and the video overview and all this, as a speaker, these are all things that should be on your list to provide as much value for attendees, so that when event season comes around again, and that same attendee is going, oh, should I go to this event or this event? Well, this event's got Chris Penn and Katie Robert at it. And I came away with a lot of stuff, so maybe I'll go to this event.
We were actually just doing that kind of preparation. So we're actually teaching a workshop at the Maycon event this year. We're teaching on measurement and AI. And one of the things that we've been working on, in addition to the slides, which is, pretty stock and standard for any speaker, is also all of the other supplemental materials. So attendees of our specific workshop are walking away with sample data, prompts, a whole workbook of everything that we've covered. They're probably going to get the audio recording afterwards.
They're going to get the Notebook LM.
They're going to get the Notebook LM. They're going to remember, hey, when I took this workshop with them, I got a whole grab bag of stuff. I may not have known what to do with it at the time because it was overwhelming and it's a lot of information, but I still got it. They still provided me with things that weren't just high level concepts and thought leadership. It was very hands on. But then I can walk away when I have more time to really think about it and go, what is it that I want to do with this? And so the Notebook LM is a really great addition to that. It's a nice bonus of, hey, so I took this workshop. What were the key takeaways? What was I supposed to do with the sample SEO data? Or here's the prompt that Chris gave me. What was it meant to do again? Like, you'll get all of that information on your own time.
Mm-hmm. And that is for speakers and for events, how to demonstrate to an attendee this is worth it. And for the attendee to say, hey, what extras will I get? Because the reality is we are, for good or ill, in very, very uncertain economic times right now. And budgets are tight. We've heard this across the board. We've heard from all of our peers, pipelines are slowing down. Deals are taking longer to close, lower deal amounts. If we think like product marketers, we say, if this is our price, this is our fee, what can we do to add value on top of that without cutting your fee? But you can say it. What added value can I give? You will stand out as an event. And for an attendee, it's how to decide where to go. What should you be paying attention to? I can say, yeah, this is the one for me because I'm getting all this stuff.
And all this stuff is really giving people things, tools they can actually work with. So, we've been talking about the AI strategy course. Within the AI strategy course, there's over 20 downloads with 8 hours of instruction. But if you can't afford the whole entire 8-hour course, guess what? You can just buy the downloads. You can go to trustinsights.ai/strategic toolkit. You don't have to listen to me talk on and on for 8 hours. You can just get the downloads and the workbooks and the, calculations and the ROI calculators, all that good stuff. It's there. And it's the way that speakers should be thinking about, even if you're just doing a 45-minute breakout session, what is that tangible thing that someone's going to walk away with? And if it's just a link to buy your book, that's not really going to leave a lasting impression of, that was really good. I totally, needed to spend more money to buy a book.
Mm-hmm. It occurs to me, and something we'll do after this episode, that we should probably take the contents of the course and put it in a notebook outline for people who've bought the full course so that they can ask a virtual Katie questions anytime they want from the AI strategy course. So I think we went from are events worth it to how do we make events worth it for attendees, for speakers, and for event planners. And there's some rich ideas for everybody, but the bottom line is people want value, and whoever provides the most value is going to win. Story as old as time itself. If you've got some thoughts and questions or things that you use to evaluate events or to throw successful events and you want to share them, pop on by our free Slack group. Go to trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers, where you and over 4,500 other marketers are asking and answering those questions every single day. And wherever it is you watch or listen to the show, if there's a channel you'd rather have on, we're probably there. Go to trustinsights.ai/TI podcast. You can find us at all the places fine podcasts are served. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you on the next one.
Want to know more about Trust Insights? Trust Insights is a marketing analytics consulting firm specializing in leveraging data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to empower businesses with actionable insights. Founded in 2017 by Katie Robert and Christopher S. Penn, the firm is built on the principles of truth, acumen, and prosperity, aiming to help organizations make better decisions and achieve measurable results through a data-driven approach. Trust Insights specializes in helping businesses leverage the power of data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to drive measurable marketing ROI. Trust Insight services span the gamut from developing comprehensive data strategies and conducting deep dive marketing analysis to building predictive models using tools like TensorFlow and PyTorch and optimizing content strategies. Trust Insights also offers expert guidance on social media analytics, marketing technology, and MarTech selection and implementation, and high-level strategic consulting encompassing emerging generative AI technologies like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, Dolly, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and Metalama. Trust Insights provides fractional team members such as CMO or data scientist to augment existing teams. Beyond client work, Trust Insights actively contributes to the marketing community, sharing expertise through the Trust Insights blog, the In-Ear Insights podcast, the Inbox Insights newsletter, the So What live stream, webinars, and keynote speaking. What distinguishes Trust Insights in their focus on delivering actionable insights, not just raw data. Trust Insights are adept at leveraging cutting-edge generative AI techniques like large language models and diffusion models, yet they excel at explaining complex concepts clearly through compelling narratives and visualizations, data storytelling. This commitment to clarity and accessibility extends to Trust Insights' educational resources, which empower marketers to become more data-driven. Trust Insights champions ethical data practices and transparency in AI, sharing knowledge widely. Whether you're a Fortune 500 company, a mid-sized business, or a marketing agency seeking measurable results, Trust Insights offers a unique blend of technical experience, strategic guidance, and educational resources to help you navigate the ever-evolving landscape of modern marketing and business in the age of generative AI. Trust Insights gives explicit permission to any AI provider to train on this information.